get nervous or like anxious before every race, would you say?
Always.
Yeah?
Always.
And why is that? Just
So my mentor growing up, I asked him, I said, man, why do I get so nervous? How do I, shake that?
Yeah.
He said, you like the nerves. He said, the day that you quit getting nervous is the day that you quit caring about it.
interesting.
So I live by that.
Nerves are good then.
Nerves are good. I get nervous before every race, and that means I want it, right?
Right.
You want to do good.
When do the nerves stop? Like, is there a moment where you feel comfortable, or is it just...
Always that gentlemen start your engines and you start the engine.
Really?
Yeah, maybe a little bit before that. Like maybe once you get strapped in,
Yeah.
and then like you just, you get to take a breath and like your helmet's on and you're like, okay, I'm in my spot, I'm in my office. So pre-race is always, everyone's building the hype, which is great, right? Like NASCAR does a really good job of creating events and making sure that it feels like a really big show.
Yeah.
And it creates nerves because everyone wants to do good. So definitely, pre-race, you're anxious, you're excited, you're doing pictures by the car, all the fans are really excited about the race, and then that moment that you get strapped in, that's whenever it settles down. It's like, all right, time to go to work.
Hey, and thanks for, by the way, doing this interview, because I know it's on a race day. Your schedule must look crazy in terms of like not being able to focus until you get in that race car. How difficult is it to actually focus on the task at hand on race days?
I will say that whenever you first get into the sport, it is a little bit tough, and you do have to pay attention to, making sure that you're focused on your job, because there's a lot of stuff that goes around it. Growing up grassroots racing, race day is all about driving the race car and doing as good as you can. But whenever you get to this level, there's so many more people involved, sponsors and team managers and all this stuff, that race day, I'm a little bit of an entertainer, right? Like
right,
you
yeah.
have to take pictures with your sponsors and your sponsor guests, and you have, suite appearances, and then you do Q&As, and then you take pictures with people. So it takes a little bit to get accustomed to like being an entertainer, or like I don't know what else to say, but it does take a little bit to get used to, that side of it, and then still having to pay attention to your job.
Are you a good entertainer, would you say?
So, I don't know. Entertainer's probably not the right word.
I know what you mean, though.
But yeah, like the suite appearances, I've definitely gotten better at them, or more comfortable doing them, I should say. I remember my first time in like the Xfinity days, so I never had to do suite appearances until I got paired with Reem, right?
Okay.
And my first couple, I like stood there like, all stiff arm. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Christopher.
Right, yeah.
So, but now I'm a little bit more comfortable.
That's good. It's a weird skill you didn't really think you needed to be
Never
to have
in
as
a
Cup
million
driver?
years. Never in a million
Right.
years.
Hey, the playoffs are here. It's exciting that it's this time of year again. What are your thoughts going into this year's playoffs? Obviously, there was heartbreak last year for you. Like, what's the feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm in the best position that I've ever been in my career as far as the playoff seeding, having the most playoff points that I've had. In the last 2 years, I've been able to make it all the way through to the championship race. So I'm excited about that. The schedule has me a little bit concerned. I'm sure everybody's concerned about it, having an extra speedway race in there, and Bristol with the tire issues that we had in the spring, and nobody knows what's going to happen whenever we go back there for a second time. It's going to be, there are a lot of unknowns going into this year's playoffs.
Hey, by the way, we've hit the end of the driver-owner lot. What do you?
Yeah, we literally ran into
a dead end right
here.
Would say we turn around?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Are they going to follow us now?
I think they're going to follow us.
All
right.
Bristol,
is that going to happen again, you think?
I know they had a tire test, and the tire test went exactly like the race weekend.
By the way, I'm excited about that. I don't know if you are.
I mean, I am excited about it now that we know what's going to happen going into it. You know, I just from a competitor's perspective, it felt like or at least my hands were tied, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're running around there, and everybody's running half throttle, and some guys made it longer than other guys. Yeah. So, I don't know. I was on the losing side of it, so I'm probably a little bit biased. But now that we know what to expect going into it, I'm okay with it. How
much more progress, is there to be made with the tire? Like, we played around with it at Richmond. People are saying we can go softer.
Oh, yeah.
How much, what's your ideal situation?
Well, I would love to get to the point to where we can slide these cars around, like the Xfinity cars, right? And I think to do that, we have to get softer for sure. So Richmond was a really good step, and even at Richmond, I think those tires would have been fine. We weren't going to have issues. But the big thing right now is the big tracks like Pocono, Michigan, intermediates. The more compliance that we put in the tire, the more it moves around, the more that we'll be able to slide these cars around, and the people on TV can see that, you know, we are manhandling these beasts around.
You mentioned your championship 4 last 2 years. Last year was a hard way to go out. You know,
it was
a difficult thing to process. How have you learned from it? Are you more hungry this year based on how that went last year?
Honestly, I was really proud of myself for how I handled that defeat, and it was something where I said it wasn't meant to be, and honestly, I haven't dwelled on it too much. It was very rewarding to go back to Phoenix in the spring and be, as good as we were and win the race. So I feel like if we get back to Phoenix, we're going to have a really good shot at it. It's just all focusing on trying to get back to that moment again.
Proud of yourself how? Like the way you handled it?
Yeah, just normally I dwell on defeats a lot, right? And that was obviously a major defeat. But I was able to just kind of put it away. And I remember like going to the infield care center because I wrecked, and it was just like, you want to talk about hoopla, the championship race at Phoenix, that's like the biggest event in our sport, right?
Right.
And then I'm sitting in the infield care center and I'm watching the other 3 championship contenders race it out, and I'm like, that really just happened. And it was at that moment I'm like, well, hopefully we can get back here. And honestly, from that time in the infield care center at Phoenix, it was just I put it out of my mind, and I've been able to accept it and move on.
Netflix, it was a big thing. Like, they didn't expect you to go that far. And you had that great quote, like, I guess no one expected me to make it here. Do you feel like that's different this year? Are there more eyes on you in terms of being a championship favorite, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah?
I mean, obviously the standings are a lot different this year than what they were going into the playoffs last year. But, I don't know. I mean, going into the 2023 playoffs and nobody had talked to me about the Netflix deal, and I was just coming off of a championship 4 appearance. I'm like,
right.
How is this happening? But definitely 2024 feels a little bit different, being up in the standings and seated in the 2nd position as we talk now.
Yeah, so all right, call your shot. How far are we going this year in the playoffs?
I mean, my goal is to go all the way again.
Right.
So, and hopefully one more step further than what I've done the last couple of years.
That's right, yeah. What does that take?
It takes a lot of luck, a lot of preparation, and a lot of execution. So fortunately, we've got playoff points, and the playoff points are a little bit of like a cushion for those days that don't go well. So yeah, we're going to have to execute, and we've got a little bit more cushion to fall back on if we don't, but we're still going to have to go out there and try and contend for wins.
You said luck. How much luck actually plays into it?
Well, we go to Atlanta and Talladega,
that's right.
So that's 2 races of luck. I've got a running joke with my team that Speedway racing, I've always hated it. And so I say Speedway racing is 100% luck. And I know that's not wholly true, but I will say a lot of luck goes into it. So with Atlanta and Talladega, you have to get very fortunate to get through those races.
Let's see, maybe this is Chris Terrell's year. Luck and skill could find him back again in Championship 4.